Hey everyone, welcome back to Work in Process. I'm Daniel here with Tim Hill, and today we're talking about a part of building custom homes that almost nobody understands until they're stuck in the middle of it: permitting. Most people think it goes architect finishes the plans, builder submits them, permit shows up in the mail, but it's not that simple. The gap between those two things is where projects get delayed, budgets blow up, and people find out the hard way that their lot has problems that nobody anticipated. Today we've got Steve Terebeki from Aqua Permits with us. He does this for a living. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
For anyone who's never heard of the term, what is a permit expediter and what do you do?
On the very basic sense of the term, I just will submit the application and file the permit. But I think that permit expediter is a little bit of a misnomer because I can't really speed up the review times. Like the city and different jurisdictions have their designated, review times.
Right.
No matter what.
Right.
What I'm expediting is, if I'm able to check the plans up front, I can kind of tell everybody or just flag anything that I might see that might be a hang up down the road.
Yeah.
Also, I know how long everything is supposed to take. And so when that time comes, I know I can kind of grease the wheels and start calling and emailing to make sure, the ball is rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
And so I think just to get to know you a little bit, how did you come to be a permit expediter? What was your pathway to this?
Stephen Hawkins started Aqua Permits in 2019. Prior to that, he worked at the city for 14 years. I was a musician, touring since 2007.
Wow.
Very different. But I've always known Stephen. After COVID, I wasn't touring anymore, sort of looking for something new.
Yeah.
And I talked to Stephen, and he asked me if I knew how to use AutoCAD, which I did. I took some in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And he said, all right, well, come on, we're going to start drawing some boat docks.
Nice.
With Stephen's expertise, just sort of dove in and just started tackling problems with him. And so here I am 5 years later. But I didn't have any prior permitting experience.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So Stephen, having worked at the city, your partner boss, had lots and lots of experience in the permitting process because he actually worked for the municipality. How did you get up to speed in understanding all the code requirements and ordinance requirements in that short period of time?
It wasn't necessarily short. I just dove in, used the comment reports as a puzzle. Whatever the comment was, I would go read the code to back it up, figured out what needed to be done. And so it was really just reps. And I did a little bit of reading and researching, but it was really just being thrown in because Stephen had plenty of work. There was plenty of comments on the table.
Yeah, I guess that's true. The more jobs you have, the more projects you're looking at, the more information that you're getting all at once.
He had an admin assistant, but she wasn't doing any permitting, so the permits were stacked up a little bit.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had a wealth of comments to look at.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you find, I know if you had never looked at a building code before, did you find navigating the code and understanding references and cross-references easy to understand, or did you rely on the city's interpretation of those in the remarks to learn it?
One thing that was nice about Stephen is that he didn't ever trust the city's interpretation of the code. I mean, all code is up for human interpretation,
right?
And so between that and precedent. One thing that's nice about the City of Austin jurisdiction is all of the plans are public record. So you can go on ABC and you can download any plan. Really in the 2000s, like before that it started.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to pull those plans up and see what had been passed before and, compare it to your situation.
Yeah. Okay, well, Tell us a little bit about the process, step by step. Let's say that the design professionals have worked through the design of a custom home and believe they have everything ready, and they contact you guys and say, okay, we're ready for you guys to fill out the application, get our permit through. Tell us about what is the step-by-step process all the way through actually getting the permit.
There's a couple different scenarios. Sometimes architects just will email me stamped plans and structural and say, we're ready to go.
Right.
And so there's nothing up front, no plan review up front. And, without saying, hey, you need to change everything about your plans, I'll submit it to the city, which you need architectural, structural, you need a water verification plan, which is just a site plan that shows the water meters. BSPA is just to set up, Austin Energy's review is sort of like a separate parallel review from everything else. I'm not sure why they need their own form.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it has to do with the service to the house and the existing infrastructure that's in place.
Right.
And whether or not there needs to be changes made based on what you're projecting to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So can I, before we get any further, is there somewhere a checklist that the city provides so that architects or designers or whoever could use that checklist to make sure all of the things are within their plans?
Yes, there's absolutely, there's so many checklists, which I think might be part of the problem.
Okay.
They're pretty long-winded. But where I like to start is really just with the application, because that is the basis for the city's review.
Right.
You're telling them we're in the wildland urban interface on the application. So with that application, exactly, we're over 3,600 square feet. There's going to be a fire flow test.
Right.
If I'm not there, the architect or builder should be looking at that application at the very first thing, to know what is going to be in the review.
Right. What information needs to be in there.
Right.
Also, too, I think hopefully early on as well, because you don't want to find out when you're ready to apply for a permit that you have to do a fire suppression system. You want to be able to put that in your design early on.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so I would say, most architects have experience working in the city of Austin. They know what the rules are. But I think there are probably some instances where people get surprised by that.
Sure. And, with the fire flow test, you could submit that anytime.
Yeah.
You don't have to submit it with a review. We're kind of going into things that hold up permits or slow it down.
Yeah.
So
Go back to the process.
Back to the process. So, sometimes folks will approach me for a plan review. Or a feasibility study. Feasibility studies are really the best thing that you can do to sort of, earmark everything that you may run into with the permit process. That's what it's designed to do,
right.
To sort of just up front before there's even design.
Back to the process then. So you get the plans, you fill out the application, submit the application, then what happens?
So before we submit the application, there's two, if we're talking with the city of Austin, you can go expedited or standard.
Right.
Depending on the timeline and the budget, you submit expedited or standard. Standard, 3 weeks later after submitting, you get a comment report. And then with that comment report, there's zoning, trees, fire, technical, and wildland urban interface now is
Right.
pretty common one. Those are the main reviews for a residential, plan review.
So is that comment report a preliminary review or is it a full review?
Permit?
No.
It's the review. So,
It's the first review in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. So in 3 weeks, you get your first set of comments back on all the different departments that have reviewed it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Good to know.
Depending on the comment report and, the problems that are up in the air, you might be able to resubmit the next day, and then there's another 3-week cycle.
Right.
Or if on the comment report it says you need a TAP plan, well, now you're waiting 8 to 10 weeks for a TAP plan. you won't be able to get the permit until the tap plan's approved.
And the tap plan is done by an engineer, so whatever the engineer's schedule is,
Right.
if to create that is your lead time, basically.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there a rule of thumb where a design professional team would know up front that they will need an upgraded tap?
Absolutely.
And therefore preliminarily or get it done as part of the design process?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Adding a second or third dwelling. Usually that bathroom number of bathrooms on the lot requires a tap plan.
Right.
And all you need for your water service verification is a site plan with the number of bathrooms and the water meter and wastewater locations. So if you have that, you can do that first,
Right.
before you design the house.
Exactly, yeah.
And as long as you know the bathroom count.
Right.
With the expedited review, so you submit everything. Within 10 days, you have a virtual meeting with the city. The next day after that, they send you your comment report.
Wow.
And then your cycles after that are only 1 week. So with expedited review, if you have all your boxes ticked, you can have something turned around in 3 weeks.
And
Wow.
is you mentioned depending on your budget, I'm assuming expedited review cost more money.
Yes, it seems to go up every couple months, but right now it's about $5,500 for the review,
Okay.
Okay.
and then standard's about $2,500.
And that does that have is there a scale based on the complexity or size of the project, or that's just a flat fee?
It's usually $5,500.
Yeah.
there's this whole list of
Yeah,
Different.
I remember once upon a time it was based on the square footage of the house.
right,
Or,
and I think for standard, that is still the case.
yeah.
Right.
For expedited, it feels more like a flat fee lately.
Right. And that doesn't include the cost of the permits. Ultimately, you have to pay for the permits once the
Right.
permit is issued.
The building permits, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay, so you've gone through the cycle a few times of comments and resubmits, and then at some point you get an email saying that it's approved. How does that process work?
Yeah. So after you submit your update, let's say we're in expedited, you've satisfied all the comments, and you just get an email that says you're approved and your plans are ready to download. And then they give you your building permit numbers. You can download your record set and then activate your permit. If you're a builder, you log into ABC, you put in your building permit number, and then you can pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the builder has to be on the permit application in some way for it to show up on the builder's portal. Is that right? Otherwise, it's going to be processed by the architect, and the architect's going to pull the permit.
Well, so, in some cases, there's not a builder on the application yet.
Right.
And in those cases, anybody that's logged into ABC and puts that building permit number in and pays for it, it's assigned to their account.
Okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
And so, but even if there is a builder on there, sometimes the city can't find you,
Right.
and they don't assign you anyway. So
Yeah.
you do. So it's the same process.
Okay.
So yeah, you log in and you can assign it to yourself, essentially.
As the permit expediter, you are the point of contact for the city. Is that correct?
When I'm the applicant,
Yes.
yes, all of the information or questions and communication sort of flows through me directly.
Yeah.
And I know all of the reviewers,
Yeah.
and sort of know their style as well. And it's interesting to see when there's a new reviewer, it's almost like a whole new sort of style of review.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
What if you get a set of comments back from one or more of the departments that has reviewed the plans, and you don't understand what they're asking for, or you don't understand the comment itself? How do you contact them to get further information on how to respond to their comments?
So when you're in a plan review, you can email the reviewers or call them and ask directly.
So you know who the reviewers specifically are for each department.
Right.
Gotcha.
So on the comment report, they'll have their contact, and you can either depending on the complexity, you can either just email them or call them, or you can set up a 20-minute meeting with them.
I have never done this to the depth that would give me a comfort level of reaching out and understanding who to talk to
Sure.
and get that level of communication. So we've always relied heavily on people who do it regularly, routinely, to have that line of communication. I think that's critical. It's good that you have those people on your speed dial, so to speak.
Right.
Right.
And thankfully, as we've been working over the past 7 years, there's less and less comments that are surprising.
Yeah. You've seen it before.
95% of them now we know. We've seen before.
Do you, when you get these comments, is part of what you do help interpret those for the design team or whoever is making the changes? If they're like you are that sort of in between where maybe you don't have to talk to the reviewer because you know the answer and you can explain it to the architect.
Yeah, if the architect really has any questions, or sometimes I'll give the designer an overview of the comments, or I'll just say, hey, these are all boilerplate. I think that you should be good to go.
Yeah.
Or this one, you're gonna have to shrink the garage, or I'll point out like the problematic comments.
Well, let's kind of go into that a little bit about what some of the pitfalls are. There's probably a million different ways that this can go sideways, but how about some like real stories of some interesting things that came up and that were surprises to either you or to the clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say one of the big ones for slowing down projects is Austin Energy. But if you don't have, all the easements located on the survey and on the site plan with the proper clearances, that's been a surprise. And you can't always immediately find easements like on GIS. Sometimes it's the type of thing where you have to look at the title agreement,
Interesting.
The entitlements. If the surveyor misses it, it's just a surprise.
Yeah, and sometimes those clearances can be significant.
Sure.
Especially when you're talking about a narrow lot.
If you're in a permit cycle and you have to submit an ESPA, you can't get an approval until there's an approved design that you can have on your plans.
Yeah.
If you're moving a driveway and there was a wastewater meter that you didn't know about, the city's going to require a tap plan to move that wastewater meter. Also, they might require a tap plan just to move the water meter because there's a lot of water meters and they don't like where they are.
Interesting.
And so you might not even be adding bathrooms and the city requests the tap plan.
Yeah, we had a project where the sewer line was completely adequate to serve the house, but it was installed when there was a 3-inch diameter oak tree about 8 to 10 feet away. But in the last 20 years, the oak tree had grown, and now that sewer line was within the critical root zone, and only that triggered a new sewer line tap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which you might not be able to anticipate, but not intuitively.
But it is, I think, kind of what you were saying before. The more times you do things and experience stuff, the more you have the foresight.
Right.
But also that sort of points to why it is important to get someone like you engaged early,
Right.
so that you can point those things out to us.
Yeah.
Right. Historic is another one because if it goes to historic commission, they have their meetings once a month, and at times your project won't show up that month, and it just gets kicked to the next month.
So that could be like a 60-day delay just for historic, but that only happens in certain neighborhoods, right?
Right. So you definitely should be able to know that's going to happen up front, hopefully.
Right.
And there's time. You can time it. So there's timing where you have to have your historic application in, so you can be on that month's agenda.
Yeah.
If you're 1 day late, then you've just delayed the project by an entire month.
Wow. So I think I'll let you keep going, but I'm noticing that some of these things are unavoidable as far as time delays go. So really it's a matter of setting the expectations when you're submitting for permit that no, you're not going to be done in 3 weeks.
Right.
This is more likely a 3-month thing or whatever, because this is the process.
Right.
Not that necessarily you're not prepared. It's just your project has to do all of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, best case scenario, expedited review, 3 weeks. But yeah, if you need a TAP plan and we're just finding out about it, then 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Septic, if you're in Travis County, 4 to 6 months.
Really? To get a septic permit?
Yeah.
And you have to have that before they'll issue the building permit.
Right.
Wow.
And so, so in Travis County, whenever anyone asks me any questions there, I'm like, I just tell them, do you have your septic permit rolling?
Yeah.
Because, everything's going to be waiting on that.
Yeah.
There was one project where we got a plan review, building was under construction, everything was going fine. Normally when, when y'all are building, I don't hear from you, unless you ask me something, and that's fine. You know, you guys are, doing your thing and that's great. Well, in this case, it was at a state builder. They built a 14-foot retaining wall.
It wasn't shown on the site plan.
Well, it was shown as on the site plan, but not dimensioned. So, and so it was approved because it was just was shown as a line. Well, then there was another plan review submitted for a pool, and that zoning reviewer said, "What is this wall? Do you have a site plan exemption?" Which ended up needing a site plan, a full site plan. Can be up to a year.
Wow.
At best 6 months. There's not a lot of residential site plans because it's usually done for commercial or like on the subdivision level.
Does that require a civil engineer to do that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so because the city doesn't process a lot of residential single family residence site plans,
Right.
we just had comments that were a mile long, and at least half of them weren't applicable.
Right.
But they got a quote from a civil engineer to satisfy the comments for $60,000.
Oh yeah.
And then so I went through, had meetings, and sort of just started like crossing off the comments that weren't necessary.
Sure.
And it ended up being only $10,000 worth of civil engineering.
Yeah, but also the time delay.
The time delay, absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
they couldn't get their CO until all that was taken care of.
Wow.
So is the lesson there always have a civil engineer review your site before you submit, or is the lesson get your pool permit and your building permit at the same time?
Well, so there's a couple potential lessons. I mean, one of them I think definitely is if you can reduce the amount of plan reviews that you have on a site, then you need to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you have a house permit and then a separate pool, and then you say, oh, we want to add this accessory structure that wasn't on the original permit, and you add a third plan review, that's just extra eyes looking at your site.
Yeah.
And really at any time they can find something.
Right.
And slow
will.
down. And will.
And will.
And will.
Yeah.
Most builders in Austin know that, you shouldn't do that, especially this close to a major waterway.
Yeah.
If you see a retaining wall on a plan and that's not dimensioned and that's approved.
Maybe, 3D site plans would be helpful.
Or at least topography so you could understand it.
Well, one of the questions on the application is, are there any retaining walls greater than 4 feet?
4 feet, yeah.
When the permit application was submitted in 2019 or 2020, that answer was no. Just that miscommunication there.
Let's move on to something else. I think that builders and architects in Central Texas would like to know. What are the nuanced differences between the municipalities and working through each of their different permit processes? I mean, Austin, Rollingwood, Westlake, Lakeway, they're all different. How they're different, and which ones are more straightforward and streamlined, and which ones are more difficult.
Sure. Outside of Austin, almost all the other jurisdictions that I've submitted permits for is through My Government Online.
Yeah.
Which is just this, website infrastructure. Thankfully, I mean, it's not a great site as far as just the user interface.
The interface is clunky for sure.
It's pretty clunky.
Yeah.
And so it definitely takes some getting used to. All the jurisdictions have prompts and fields that sort of inform you of what they're going to be looking at.
Right.
But they're all, it's not really an application form, like PDF form. It's all web form.
Yeah.
It's good to kind of get in there and just do a fake permit and kind of click through, the fields, so what's coming. Every time I submit a Travis County permit, I feel like there's sort of new jurisdictions and new or overlapping jurisdictions and rules. There's wildland urban interface there now.
Right.
If you're in 78746, there's sprinkler. But if you have a straightforward lot that's not in the floodplain, and maybe you're on city sewer, I mean, it's going to be a very straightforward permit. I mean, they don't really review building plans in that way. They're really looking at overall site impervious cover numbers and whatnot. But Travis County septic, I would say, is the worst, just because it takes so long.
Right.
Usually septic designers submit that directly anyway, but it's a holdup.
And that's not because it's difficult to review. That's because maybe the workload they have and the staff they have on hand.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of these smaller jurisdictions, there's usually just a handful of folks.
Yeah.
And so it's nice because you can just call them and get them on the phone and get your questions answered. But it also means you're just going to be waiting longer.
Yeah.
Because their review times are just longer. Westlake and Rollingwood are more difficult immediate area, just because their code ordinances are longer. They just have more requirements. You can't combine one application for your pool and different structures.
Right.
It's all separate.
Right.
And so it takes longer. It takes longer to submit. And
Did those small municipalities contract out some of their review, or do they do it all internally?
both. So some they have third party engineers that are sending you the comment reports.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, I know one thing that's unique to, maybe not completely unique, but definitely something that's here that isn't other places, is the sort of scrutiny around trees.
Mm-hmm.
And the tree protection plans and the limits of construction around trees. I think you had mentioned a builder that was not from Austin submitting with the 14-foot wall or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is probably a challenge for people that are not, or builders or architects that are not used to that. We have a project underway at the moment where the architect is from out of state. They did their due diligence and had a fantastic tree protection plan, but it was not something they had ever had to do to that level before. And I think it's definitely worth educating yourself around the tree zoning ordinances that we have here.
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime I work with an out-of-town architect, I just send them full tree comment reports. Like if you do nothing for your tree plan, you'll get like about 15 comments from the tree reviewer.
Yeah.
And I just send that comment report to the architect and say, like, look, this is what they're looking for, and I can kind of provide them examples, and so they're prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see architects and structural engineers wanting to be creative in the way they encroach upon trees and root zones? I know a lot of our projects have like cantilevered foundations out over root zones so that they don't have to excavate around them.
Right.
Those kinds of. Do you see more and more of that?
You do see a lot of that in Austin, especially in Central Austin, with all the existing beautiful trees.
Right.
And it's always a dance because you can only impact 50% of the full tree.
Right.
And so a lot of times there's a lot of existing impact that counts. And so, unless you have you can't have a tree remediation plan
Right.
to sort of get back that impact. And so, on paper they're really strict, but you can work with them to kind of get to the end goal.
Yeah, we do that. This project that we're working on, it's built very close to some trees. And so we bring the tree people from the city out prior to any pruning that we want to do, or even though that it's approved, we still sort of like get their blessing to make sure that we're doing it in the way that they want it to be done. And they're very reasonable people if you give them the opportunity to really understand what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And no, I mean, that's a great idea because doing nothing or doing the bare minimum with trees is, you're going to get fined.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you find that architects and design professionals engage you and your company because it's a cost-effective way to go through the process? I know architects and their staff, are fairly highly professional people, and the cost of them working through the intricacies of this process has got to be very expensive if they try to do it themselves. So do you find them saying, we just like to hand it off to you and let you go through the process because it makes more sense for us to do that? Is that kind of the justification?
Yeah, I think the architects that work with us on a repeated basis, I think that we pay for ourselves with just the time we save them.
Right.
Another thing that I think is really a huge wrench in the process is if the homeowner doesn't fully understand pricing.
Yes.
So you get your permit, you go through the whole cycle, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we don't want to spend that much. And then you have to put it in a revision. All inspections stop during that revision process. Just,
Oh, you're talking about budget for the project.
Yeah.
Not for permitting.
During construction, you've already got a permit.
Right.
And now they want to change the design, change the footprint, or something substantial, maybe a structural revision.
Absolutely. And during a revision, you have to shut down construction, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Changing your mind is expensive as well. And it's happens. I feel like it happens on 25% of the new construction projects.
That's interesting.
Of course, I think that before we finish, one thing I would like to make sure that we touch on is that as a builder, and I'm sure as architects that would listen, it would be very helpful for us to have, here are the 50 most common comments that we get. Things that just every project seems to repeat these same deficiencies, these same things that the city wants to see or the city doesn't see complete enough. And so as a checklist, right, it's more like, here's not what the city prescriptively says they want to see, but here's a list of things that the city finds that they want, corrected or changed.
Sure.
Right? Does that exist somewhere? Have you guys created something like that? I think we could sell it.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. It exists in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I could absolutely, compile a list like that because I do see a lot of the same comments, especially with, new home construction. That's the full site. It's a full site review. There's 10 or 15 comments that are going to be on almost every comment report.
It's good to know. Okay.
What percentages of your clients are architects, builders, or homeowners?
I would say we have less builders overall. We do have some design build kind of groups, maybe 40-40-20 architects, homeowners, builders.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So homeowners, that's surprising to me that homeowners try to do this themselves, and the way they do that is to engage you instead of getting their architect to do that.
There's so many different scenarios, but it seems like there's some architect firms that won't or don't, and so those owners will reach out to us. And then, there's plenty of permits, not new home permits, but interior remodels and pool permits that don't need architect stamps.
Sure.
So there's a lot of those.
Hand sketch drawings, you see those still?
I still do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying earlier that you guys actually have CAD services for people who need that design assistance
Yes.
that don't have it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So with interior remodel and pools, you don't always need a design stamp.
Right.
And pools especially. I mean, if it's on grade, it's just a site plan.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And numbers, you know, and
Yeah.
and the piping.
Yeah.
So it's pretty straightforward for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, homeowner might not want to touch it.
Yeah.
And then a
That
lot of
makes sense.
pool installers also surprisingly don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other advice you might give builders and architects or homeowners, for that matter, about when to start this, when they should engage you?
Also, how to engage you? Like, how
Yeah.
do they reach out to you?
Doing at least a light feasibility study, just so you understand, the zoning, having a good survey up front, and your title from your title company that sort of like lists any
Right.
restrictive covenants or easements. That's all in one place,
Right.
and you have that when you buy your house.
Right.
Obviously, if you're building a new house, might not have it. You can reach us at aquapermits.com. We answer our phones and our emails as quickly as possible. I mean, it's sort of part of the job is not leaving an email
Right.
for 24 hours is, I think, way too long. We make ourselves available.
Well, this has been great and eye-opening in some regards. Thank you so much for sort of pulling back the curtain on the process
Yeah.
and for coming in and talking to us today.
Just lets us know that we need to do it more often.
Yeah.
Engage you in everything we do.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So that does it for another episode of Work in Process. If you have any questions, topic suggestions, or want to reach out to us regarding a project, email us at hello@reisingerbuild.com and follow us on Instagram at reisingerbuild_ATX.